Hi guys, and welcome to Petrolheads London and to this week's 5 at 5. So if you've not watched this before, my name is Tom and this is my channel Petrolheads London, and every week at 5 o'clock on Wednesday I give you 5 minutes of news, updates around what's going on in the car and bike world, and some of the stuff I've kind of been looking at and thinking about doing in my videos. First thing to point out is this. I trapped my hand in a door. So anyway, we can't account for stupidity. But actually the first thing I should really do is, if you've not watched one of these before, is if you are the first person to comment on this video, I will give you a shout out in next week's video. And this week's was JY, literally with the words first comment. You can write what you want. You don't actually have to write first. Anyway, thanks. Good, so thank you anyway, and thank you for all the support in the comments and the support you're showing for these weekly videos. I really appreciate it. So when I first sat down to look at what to put on this, I was a bit like, oh, what's been going on? So the big one for me, the French Grand Prix. Now, this was a big thing because it was the first time in 28 years that they have had a Grand Prix in France. And I think, to me, what made it actually very, very special, and sometimes I prefer watching the qualifying to the actual races, was a young French driver who, I must try and get his name right, which is Charles Leclerc, or Leclerc, I think it is. He actually got into the Q3 qualies, which he's never done before, so it was the first time he did that, and eventually came 10th. And for me, that was, like, I think, a massive achievement. So long since there was a Grand Prix in France, and to have a young French driver do so well in it. And he is really one to watch, and if you look at all the commentary around F1, there's a lot of people really watching him. So anyway, watch this space for that guy. What else? So it was a good result for Hamilton again, as we know. Grosjean obviously had a bit of a nightmare and came, I think, 11th. So anyway, it was a bit of an interesting race, and the start was, well, anything but tidy coming out. So there were a few bumps and scrapes out of that. And thank God there were such big runoffs in that circuit. So interesting Grand Prix. So I think, you know, the season's only kind of like going to keep getting better and giving us feedback. So the next thing on my list, and this is the big one, and as I was saying, is when I first started thinking about this video yesterday, which was Tuesday, I was like, well, actually, what's happened in the car world? Has much come out? Yes, this bad boy, the Aston Martin DBS Superleggera, and wow, what a car. I know a couple of fellow YouTubers were there yesterday at the launch in London. Sadly, I didn't get the invite. Note to Aston, thank you, love to come. I must say, the new design of Aston's is, well, controversial sometimes is probably the best way to put it, but, you know, the Aston Martin DB11 has been incredibly well received and as a super GT car. The Aston Martin Vantage, I think, is maybe some of the lines are a bit aggressive on the front and maybe a bit soft at the back, but everybody tells me who spent some time with it in the flesh says it really grows on you. This, however, is just, to me, on the money. It's so Superleggera, meaning super light. This basically replaces the Vanquish. The DBS Vanquish, which I believe they're going to take that name and move it towards their kind of like 720S, like McLaren 720S beta sports car, which is coming in about sort of 3 years or so, is down the production line. But I think Aston Martin have really moved on, and a lot of people say Aston have this kind of old man image, but this blows it out the water. This is chasing things like the Ferrari 812 Superfast. It's got some amazing design, not only from a visual point of view, but the ducting across the front, if you have another look at the picture, actually directs the airflow around the body, as it has done with, I think, the Vantage as well as the DB11. It's got quite big wheels on it for, you know, so for even the ride, I imagine it's probably relatively harsh, but just looks absolutely beautiful. Just smatterings of carbon everywhere. I think it's got a carbon bonnet. Anyway, there's lots to look at on there. But anyway, one to look out for. Then the only final thing to say is I know I haven't posted any videos, one about my mods on my bike, and it is being made and the mod has happened and it will come. The second one is around the Ftype, and I explained that it was back after a bit of an issue. And what I'm hoping to do is make a series of very, very small vlog type videos around the Ftype to give you guys updates around what's happening with that, rather than trying to fill it out with shed loads of B-roll, although there will be a bit of that because let's face it, it's a beautiful car and it's nice to look at. Anyway, that's my 5 minutes. That about wraps it up. Thank you so much for watching Petrolheads London. Remember to comment below and you will get a shout out next week. Thanks very much, guys. Cheers.